Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ooh, it's couple of time. I'm waiting on my view to be rule. La la la. How y'all doing? Happy blessed Monday. I am woo. Been a business, y'all. Been a business. Let's check out some things. Oh, I broke my thing, y'all. Oh, rectify all of that.
In the Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl, and that was a big deal.
Whew, man. Yeah, it's a big deal. We're gonna take y'all on back. I'm gonna check out what's going on with these flying objects.
The president wanted to act out of abundance of caution to protect our security and our interests. So we will remain.
Sorry about the noise in the background.
Now recovering the debris to better understand certainly the capabilities of the surveillance that's going in from the TRC, but also the nature of these unidentified objects to better understand were they surveillance objects, what was their purpose, what are their capabilities.
Close encounters of the unknown kind, less than a week after the U.S. military brought down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina. The White House ordered the shooting down of 3 more unidentified flying objects over the weekend.
What are these things? You know, it's interesting. They would not call them balloons. They said there's a reason we're calling them objects and not balloons.
Something else. We'll dig into what on earth is going on here.
Come on, y'all.
We're also following a number of political developments, including former President Trump's 2020 presidential campaign reportedly paying a research firm to find evidence of voter fraud, keeping those findings secret.
Well, you know why they kept it secret?
Why?
They didn't find any proof.
Literally, that's the news.
Oh, I mean, of course. I mean, it's not news because this has been the case for a couple of years now, but it is fascinating.
I believe the former president wanted the firm to lie for him.
Yeah.
Plus, the former president reportedly testing out new nicknames for Ron DeSantis ahead of a potential 2024 primary matchup against the Florida governor. There's some good ones.
Ron, we'll reveal that one, but
I take offense to one of them.
Jonathan Lemire,
I'm seriously triggered.
You think one of these proves that Donald has his high heat back?
No.
There was some skepticism among Republicans and, frankly, Trump supporters about his original nickname attempt for Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSanctimonious. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. But as this reporting in the New York Times reveals, he's telling associates, Meatball Ron. That's what he's calling the governor of Florida to friends. And that feels more like the Lion Ted and the Crooked Hillary and all those that worked for him in previous campaigns. Meatball Ron.
Megan's very offended that her cat's name would be used in vain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, a couple things about that. One, I guess they don't have mirrors at Mar-a-Lago. And two, you know what rhymes with Meatball Ron? Meatball Don. Of course. Just goes off the tongue, which is why he's probably not trotted that one out.
Those two could be meatball squared.
Let's talk about the Super Bowl.
Okay. Here we go.
The Chiefs winning their second NFL title in 4 years, coming back. And they came back in the second half, just dominating the second half to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, probably the best all-around team in the league last night. The Chiefs trailed for most of the game with their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, playing through an ankle injury aggravated on a tackle in the second quarter. A lot of people asking, who's going to need to be able to come out second half? Oh, he came out. The Chiefs closed the gap in the second half, taking its first lead early in the fourth, where Mahomes tossed 2 of his 3 touchdown passes in the game. Philadelphia's Jalen Hurts broke the Super Bowl rushing record for quarterback, becoming the first quarterback to rush for 3 touchdowns and the first to throw for 1 and run for 2 more. But it came down to, well, a tough, questionable call, a penalty with the game tied with about 2 minutes left to play, facing 3rd and 8. The Eagles' 15-yard line. Mahomes overthrew his receiver, but a flag thrown for defensive holding gave the Chiefs a fresh set of downs. Changed the complexion of the game, obviously, at the end. Eagles quarterback James Bradberry, he admitted after the game that the crucial penalty was, in fact, a hold. But most Eagle fans and a lot of other fans didn't believe. So that decided the Super Bowl. Fresh set it down to allow Kansas City to run the clock out.
But the Eagles' defense sucked anyway.
Butker out for the go-ahead field goal. Late seconds remaining. He had missed an earlier kick. Sealed the 38-35 victory. Mahomes becomes the first league MVP to go on to win the Super Bowl since 1999 and adds a second Super Bowl MVP award to his resume.
Wow.
So let's bring in Mike Lupica, Jonathan Lemire, Richard Haas, and the Reverend Al.
Everyone's a little tired this morning.
Well, little.
I see some sleepy faces.
Little tired. Why don't we just start? Mike Lupica, with? Well, I don't want to start with the call because there were 59 minutes of greatness that preceded it. Talk about this Super Bowl. What a great, this happens when you have the 2 best teams in football, 2 great quarterbacks, and 2 great coaches. So talk about the Super Bowl.
You know, Joe, I want to start with the losing quarterback. Jalen Hurts played one of the great games by a quarterback whose team lost the game that I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. And you have to give him all the props for what he did last night in Glendale. But the other guy, Mahomes, playing on one good leg. Great players do great things. We talked about this the other day on the show. When a game looks this even to me, I always ask myself, who's the best player in the gym? And in the second half, Patrick Mahomes, as great as Hurts was last night, he was the best player in the gym. And how about that scramble up the middle for 26?
Hello, welcome to Illinois Time TV.
That scramble was the bomb. And that's why I was like, damn, where's the defense? Yeah, they kind of screwed that one up. That was kind of screwed up for real.
6 yards. And here's one other thing about that call, Joe. The same thing happened last year. The same thing happened with Cooper Kupp last year in the Rams. The Bengals got called for a hold. And all of these people who say you can't make that call then, my question is, if you don't make it then, when do you make it?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different, isn't it, Jonathan Lemire? If you're making that call in the first half of a game in the 7th week of the season, and when you're making that call when it will decide the outcome of the Super Bowl. It just was not, there was a little tug there. I see that happening 100 times. 100 times a year on routes.
True,
anyway. Again, I agree with Mike. That's going to be called holding a lot. And Bradberry, really stepped up and said, yeah, I get it. But you hate to see a great Super Bowl decided that way.
So anticlimactic. Yeah, I'm going to take the other side of this one from Mike. I don't think you can call that there because you throw that flag. The referee throws that flag. He's deciding the Super Bowl. With that much time left in the game, you give the Chiefs a first down. They can run out the clock, which they did. They kicked the 3 as time expired. They win. You know you're deciding the game. And the play wasn't even close. Mahomes missed them. So that is tough. But let's be clear, though. We can have our concerns about that call, but Mahomes was brilliant. Unbelievable. The Eagles defense couldn't get a stop. That was perhaps the most surprising and disappointing thing in this game is the Eagles defense was really good all year long, and they were terrible yesterday. And they couldn't get Kansas City off the field. Give credit to Andy Reid, some really marvelous play design on some of these offensive plays. Left guys wide open the whole game, and Mahomes made throw after throw. It was a great game. Hurts was terrific. Mahomes was even better, but tough to see it end that way.
Mike Lupica, let's be clear, though. I mean, the Eagles defense was good in the first half. They were beaten badly in the second half. But, you were talking about, you have a rule, you ask yourself who's the best player in the gym. I mean, in Super Bowls, I ask the question, who's been there? Who's the person that's going to be able to handle the adversity the best? And again, Jalen had a great game, but you can tell in places it was his first Super Bowl. But here, look at Andy Reid. Look at these play designs. The announcers were saying, "Oh, he's going to run the ball up the middle for 2 plays on 3rd and short." And as no, and then here's another incredible design play. He goes in motion, cuts back at the last second, wide open. I was like, Andy Reid doesn't run the ball up the middle 2 times and take chances. Let's just say it. I mean, what I said going into the second half was to Jack, we're talking. I said, well, you've got a future Hall of Fame quarterback. We know Mahomes is going. He's future Hall of Fame quarterback. We got a future Hall of Fame coach. Going into the second half, if they get a quick score, watch out, because those are the 2 guys you want on your side in the second half of the biggest game in the world.
Joe, the last time they played a Super Bowl in that stadium, Tom Brady brought his team from 10 points behind in the second half, which is exactly what Pat Mahomes did last night. And again, he wasn't at his best physically, but he was at best as a football player. And again, you go back and look at the play that set up the last field goal, where on that bad ankle, he runs 26 yards up the middle of the field. And again, great players do great things. And in that moment, and Joe, I thought the most important drive might have been the first one of the second half, where the Chiefs went right down the field and scored.
Yeah, went right down the field and scored. And again, Andy Reid, you look at the plays he was calling, you look how he set the Eagles up time and again. It was extraordinary play calling in the second half and kept the Eagles, a great Eagles defense, back on their heels the whole time. All right, Richard Haas, you have negotiated some pretty important international deals. Your special envoy to Northern Ireland. You've done all the important things, so help us mere mortals out here. The call, which this will be called for forever. The call in Philadelphia. They'll be calling it the call. Was it a penalty? Should the ref let him play? What did you think?
Yes, it was a penalty. As you say, Bradbury showed total class. Should it have been called? Probably not. It was not egregious. It was not really player defining, which ought to be the criteria. But Joe, you're missing the big point here.
Of course I am.
As a Giants fan, the fact that Philadelphia lost makes this a great game. The Empire State Building was not bathed in green last night. It was a good game for New Yorkers.
Really?
And the only football point, I thought both defenses had a bad game. I actually thought this was so offense-stopped. Both quarterbacks had a lot of time yesterday. I was just surprised by the fact that neither defense really asserted itself in the game.
There's really something. You remind me of Gene Robinson, who after Ohio State lost, he brought up his favorite New Yorker cartoon of all times, where a dog says, "It's not enough that dogs win. Cats must lose." And for New York fans last night, Cats lost. Now, Ralph, I remember very well, very exciting. I think it was 88, January of 88, maybe early February of 88. Doug Williams goes out on the field, and, he had been the spotty quarterback at times, but Doug Williams that night was on fire. He won the Super Bowl. The Redskins crushed the Broncos, and he was the first black quarterback in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. And that was a big deal. Everybody was talking about that. Last night, it just kind of snuck up on us. It at least snuck up on me. I was reading articles. Hell, this is the first time there are 2 black quarterbacks in the game. Also, the 2 youngest quarterbacks with age combined. History was made last night. And let's just say this. 2 incredible guys, 2 guys of deep faith that talked about their deep faith, talked about their teams. They both so wonderful in adversity. These are guys that you want to be in a foxhole with, whether you're in business or on the football field, wherever you are.
No doubt about it. When you look at last night, two black quarterbacks competing in the Super Bowl, and it wasn't even a big deal, which shows how we've advanced. I talk all the time about how far we still have to go, but last night showed culturally we made some progress. Because I remember when Doug Williams first played. I'm not a huge football fan, but I make every Super Bowl watching it. I've even gone to a couple. And both of these quarterbacks came up, perfected their sports. They're sons of athletes. They're the best we could have for Black America. I was teasing some of the guys I was watching the game with. Is this the first time in our life we can't say, let's root for the black guy? Because no matter who you rooted for last night, you were rooting for the black guy. But I probably, if I had attended the game as I have others, Joe, I probably would have been one to lead a pro.
Everybody has a favorite thing about Kettle and Fire bone broth, because it's made with high-quality ingredients to support whatever your thing is. Allie's thing, reaching her goals. Kettle and Fire, make bone broth your new thing.
Life is expensive. Tools don't have to be. That's why over 40 million customers have made Harbor Freight America's #1 tool store. With more than 1,300 locations nationwide, Harbor Freight offers the widest selection of tools at values that can't be beat. Don't take our word for it. Come see
the protest against that call at the end. I would have been marching outside the stadium. I would have been reading about it.
Of course. Hey, and one other thing, too. Isn't it interesting, Mike Lupica, that a couple of years ago, all I heard was that the Colin Kaepernick controversy, the kneeling before the game, all of the great divisions that caused, it was going to hurt the NFL forever. You had Republican pollsters telling me that's one of the reasons Donald Trump won states, that the NFL was up there, people turned it off. Friends told me they would never watch the game ever again. The NFL's never been bigger. A couple years later, the NFL has never been bigger. They've never made more money. They've never had more fans. There's never been more interest. Franchises, you look at the top 30 franchises in the world as far as a value. Something like the top 24 of the 30 in the world are NFL franchises. This game is bigger than ever before. So much for that controversy damaging it.
You know what? Even the controversy of that call last night, it somehow makes the event bigger. Joe, I've seen a lot of great games. I saw Brady come from 28-3 down one. This is one of the great Super Bowls ever played, and it puts a bow on what was a tremendous season in the NFL that ended up with a feel-good story about Damar Hamlin.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a season.
I'm having gone to bed at halftime. I don't know how you all are doing it, but Mike Lupica, thank you very much. His latest book, The House of Wolves, co-authored with James Patterson, is a New York Times bestseller.
It just keeps selling me.
Of course.
It just keeps selling.
Thanks for getting up early with us this morning.
It's a Patrick Mahomes of books.
We're going to turn to the news now to the growing questions surrounding the White House's decision to shoot down 3 more unidentified flying objects over the weekend. Less than a week after the U.S. military brought down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina, the skies were active again. On Friday, President Biden ordered the military to shoot down an object flying near the northern coast of Alaska, at least 40,000 feet, according to NSC spokesperson John Kirby. The object was roughly the size of a small car and was flying low enough that it posed a threat to civilian flights. On Saturday, at the request of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, U.S. fighter jets shot down another object, which was small and cylindrical, flying over the country's Yukon territory. Later on Saturday, U.S. aircraft were sent to Montana to investigate an anomaly picked up on radar, but according to the Defense Department, they were unable to find the source. Officials say the radar blip reemerged overnight on Saturday, and after floating over Lake Huron near Michigan, President Biden made the call to bring it down. It was described as an octagonal structure with strings hanging off of it with no discernible payload. Officials are now working to recover debris from the 3 sites to determine the object's origins.
The aliens are here.
The winter conditions in Alaska and Canada are making that difficult. The objects are said to all resemble each other and not the suspected Chinese spy balloon shot down earlier this month. When asked yesterday about the possibility of the objects being extraterrestrial, a defense attorney said there was no indication of that. Joining us now, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, retired 4-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He's Chief International Analyst for NBC News.
Admiral, good morning. We'll first ask you the call. Was it holding or not? I mean, I gotta ask Admiral that.
Yes, it was holding, and a really unfortunate way to end the game. I think everybody knows the actual highlight of the game was the U.S. Navy flyover at celebrating 50 years of women in the cockpit. That was a pretty great moment for my Navy.
That was. So what do you make of this? A different object every day. Obviously, you're paying closer attention. There may have been this clutter, whatever it is, up there all along, but obviously they're paying closer attention to what's flying up there. The only thing is, even if these aren't spy craft, they're at 20,000 feet, they're at 30, 40,000 feet. You're suddenly talking about something that could take down a commercial airliner.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, Ian Fleming, who wrote the great James Bond novel, said once that if someone shoots at you, the first time is happenstance, the second time is coincidence, the third time it's enemy action. We're on round 4 here. This is starting to look a little campaign-like. And I'm not a big believer in coincidence and international relations. So when you look at how China's reacting to the Philippine basing agreement, to the stand-up of a new Marine Corps base in Guam, to Kevin McCarthy's talk of going to Taipei, I think there's a bit of campaigning going on here. But yes, Joe, you're right. We're also more situationally aware. That's what happened as a result of the first incident. I think you're going to see more of this because technology is changing and it's providing new means. And by the way, we tend to focus on China. This could be Russia of interaction in that high north as well. So I think we're going to see more of this. And I know we'll be talking to John Kirby a little later on. Ask him about how integrated our radar systems are. That is a significant point we ought to focus on here.
Yeah. Jonathan Weir, what's the White House saying?
They haven't said much to this point, Joe. We expect to get a more substantial briefing today, and we'll certainly, as just noted, we'll hear from John Kirby in an hour or so. This, of course, Friday is when they announced. I was in the briefing room at the White House on Friday when Kirby did announce that the shooting down of that object over Alaska, and then we've had a couple more over the weekend. Frankly, that Navy flyover at Super Bowl, surprising they didn't shoot one down while they were at it, considering such a trend, Richard Haas. My question for you is that we just heard this morning, just a couple hours ago, Foreign Ministry in Beijing has said, hey, the U.S. has flown 10 balloons over our skies since 2022. No, they spy on us. We spy on them. What's the sense here? Is this something that it's always been happening and just now there's more attention to it? And part 2, this only is inflaming tensions between Washington and Beijing. What can be done about that?
Well, part 1, my guess is this was not an area that either side was focusing a lot on. Now we're focusing a lot more on it. It's quite possible some Chinese agency, some Russian agency had decided this was almost an area you could go in the same way that we do with satellites. So my guess is it's been going on for some time. We're noticing it a lot more now. I think the question is, does it continue to go on? We don't know who may have authorized it in China or Russia or wherever. The real question is, do political authorities step in and say, to get to your second question, we've got to stop this or slow this down. Whatever intelligence gain we're getting from this is not worth it. Clearly, this has now become highly controversial, if not unacceptable. And if we want to get the relationship back on track, we want to get the Secretary of State, say, to Beijing, we've got to cool it on this. But my guess is this was an area that there was a lot of activity in, wasn't noticed, now it's being noticed, and now the rules of the game are going to change.
Well, Admiral, chances are very good. If the Chinese are doing it, we're doing it, and probably doing it better, and they're not being able to detect our objects that are floating over their country. I mean, if you know anything classified, please don't reveal it here. But it's kind of like when people talk about, the Russians are able to hack into our computers. I said, yeah, well, just please, just wait. And then, of course, in the Mueller report, we found out that as they were hacking, we knew what base was doing it, what building was doing it, what person sitting at what desk was doing it, what keystroke they used to do the things that they were doing. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, we can protest and beat our chests and scream and yell and say this is the worst thing ever. Chances are good we're probably doing it and doing it better, aren't we?
Well, let's just say we are pretty damn good at listening all around the world, from space and every other place. Yeah. I'll give you three things that are net positives here. One is we're learning a lot. We are soaking up intelligence. We are going to recover every nut and bolt of these things that come out of the sky. We're also very good at that. And our intelligence community is going to reverse engineer this and learn a great deal. Number two, little noticed, I think, but really terrific cooperation between the United States and Canada here. This is the absolute idea of NORAD, North American Air Defense. That's what NORAD stands for. You see it going back and forth. If you're going to stand and operate with another nation, having a big, capable one like Canada on our border is a very good thing. That cooperation has gone very well. And then thirdly, to Richard Haas's point, I think both sides are going to say, look, the candle isn't worth the game here in terms of ratcheting up, creating challenges. Let's let cooler heads prevail. I think that'll happen. Signal to watch, Tony Blinken. When does that trip get reconstituted? Let's hope it's soon, and let's hope the tension goes out of the system here.
And Admiral, finally, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. We certainly will talk to you more about the anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Right now, the Russians have an offensive going. What are you looking at?
Casualties, and recently announced. And by the way, when I think casualties, I tend not to look at U.S. intelligence, which tends to understate them. I look certainly not at Ukrainian information, which for obvious reasons tends to overstate them. Watch the British, the UK intelligence. These casualties are tracking toward 1,000 killed a day. Not quite there yet. Don't forget, we lost tragically, the United States, 7,000 in 20 years of war. That would be a week's worth of what is going out of the Russian military in terms of killed and severely wounded. So I'm tracking casualties on that side of the firing line. And over here on the western side, Joe, I'm tracking our resolve. So there, watch our president. When he goes to Poland, maybe he'll dip into Ukraine, who knows? But that'll be a real signal. You'll see Putin give a big speech. That'll be a pack of lies. And you'll see our president give a speech that'll be a beacon of light. Watch those two.
Wow. Yeah, and we can think about it as
Whoa, have you all had your cup of Joe already? I'm waiting on mine. I think I got kind of, I really got messed up last night. The Super Bowl was exciting. Although I did not go out, I stayed home. There's a couple places I was invited to go, but I wanted to make a nice dinner for myself, And oh my God, it was great. It was great, and I did get kind of loaded though. I didn't realize something's wrong. Hell, I'm drunk. So I eat and then I go to sleep. And so, hey, whew, man. So now I'm trying to recover. I got a little cleanup to do, and we'll get around to that next. Yeah. And so, if you come in, please give me a like when you leave. Come in, just like it, and whatever. Because I know this probably not your thing, but this is what I do when I get up in the mornings or before I go to sleep. All depends on when or when I go to sleep, because not all the time um I am. Yeah, but whatever. So let's get back to the show.
Of deaths killed in action in Russia.
Unbelievable.
Think about it. By the end of this week,
Yeah.
by Friday, you will have more Russians killed this week than died in the Iraq War, than Americans that died tragically in the Iraq War. I mean, and the question is, I understand that people on all the time that say Putin can just let as many people die as he wants. That wasn't the case in Afghanistan for the Russians, and I don't think it's going to be the case at the end here either. At some point, he's going to have an excuse to declare victory and stop.
Stop throwing these lives away.
Stop throwing so many lives away.
Retired Admiral James Stavridis, as always, thank you very much for getting up early with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And still ahead on Morning Joe, White House National Security.
Stan, you think you're going to be running against them. I can see how you might get confused, but you're running for governor. You're running for governor, and I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
Later, he blurted out, I like purple.
If that's how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis
Just awful.
handled an attack
Oh, my God.
from Charlie Crist in the gubernatorial debate, how's he going to handle all the incoming from Donald Trump? New reporting from the New York Times suggests Governor DeSantis is going to take similar tact and not lash out at Donald Trump, at least not yet. Even as the former president steps up his attacks. Why are these important? Because they actually were really difficult for fellow candidates.
Jeb, you look at what happened with Jeb, low energy Jeb, Lion Ted. I mean, it actually.
But will it have the same effect this time? Is a question we should ask. Now, the Times notes,
those guys.
Quote, DeSantis has pursued a strategy of conflict avoidance, delaying what is likely to be a hostile and divisive clash that forces the party's voters to pick sides. According to the Times, Trump has spent weeks trying to goad DeSantis into a fight, describing him in conversations as Meatball Ron, an apparent dig at his appearance.
Again, no mirrors at Mar-a-Lago.
Or Shutdown Ron, a reference to restrictions the governor put in place at the beginning of the COVID pandemic.
And again, obviously he can't read, because if he could read his own press releases from the White House, he told governors they needed to shut down.
When asked about Trump's attacks, DeSantis has mainly countered by reminding voters of Trump's election losses. And your advice would be that is exactly what he should do.
Well, I mean, that is what he should do. And I think, I think DeSantis, of course, he looked terrible in that debate with Charlie.
Well, there was a little you need to know that the moderator was the only one who was supposed to be asking questions, so he might have been sticking to the rules. I'm just not that. Hey, listen, his airport is disgusting. So thanks, Ron DeSantis.
Let's not talk about.
But I'm just going to be
not
defending him. But
no, okay. Well, anyway, you don't look that way in debates. But anyway, so I will say, I'm going to go to Rev in a second, but first, Jonathan Lemire, I will say, I mean, we were talking about how Trump had lost his fastball. I mean, his first nickname is something like Ron Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yeah, he tried to put that on bumper stickers. Very hard to do.
Searching for a new Nissan? The search is over at Star Nissan of 9.
Hey. Woo, I'm about to have my cup of joe, y'all. I'm about to have it. It's about to go down. I need it. I got some things to do today. And it seems like such a beautiful day. I gotta go out and take my lovely walk. I have to wait though until they come and they're gonna put a new lock in. So, but I'm going out there. I mean, it looks wonderful. It's nice and sunny now. The sun has come up, and I need to take my walk then. And take care of some business. Maybe I do lunch or something. Maybe not. Who knows what I do today? All depends. I was drinking like I don't know. I got pretty messed up last night, all by myself, watching the game. I did have a little company with my fake YouTube baby daddy. He's still refusing to pay child support, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with him. He needs he needs to get a job so I can sue him for child support.
So then he goes to Meatball Ron, and like that tweet that you sent me yesterday, it's like a reliever who had lost his stuff suddenly remembering how to throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball high.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is all childish, immature, and ridiculous. Let's put
Of course it is.
So they're going to start. But in the category of childish, immature, ridiculous things, good nickname. I mean, this one has a chance to stick. Although you're right, certainly it's not very self-aware of the former president, considering his own appearance. And the COVID thing is an interesting choice as well. To hit DeSantis for being easy on COVID when DeSantis, outside of the first couple of weeks, has made a point of going to the right of Trump on pandemic response. So, Rev, I'm not sure that necessarily is going to play either. But really, what this is about is it's the opening act, right? And DeSantis, to this point, has chosen not to respond. He's trying to be above the fray. But I think people who know both men suggest that even DeSantis supporters know that he's untested on the national stage. He'll have to get better at debate moments like that. And Trump, for all of his flaws, and it would take us weeks to go through them, he is good at attacking political opponents. That's an undeniable skill that he has. How do you see this playing out in these early stages of this fight?
Well, what is interesting to me is how he froze in the debate more than how he responds to Trump. I ran in 2004 and several of the primaries for president. When you get on the big stage, it's different. And I don't know DeSantis has shown he can rise to the big stage. I mean, because look how much pressure you did before that. It's different up there. They analyze everything. And when you can't answer a question that you should have known was coming in the Charlie Crist segment we just showed, where you should have been prepared for that. I'm wondering, how do you handle presidential politics? So whether you can act like a wrestling match guy with Trump exchanging names or no, that's one thing. But when you get up there and they start coming at you hard, and these are not your friendly guys at the Miami Herald, you are going to be tested. And I don't know that DeSantis has showed us that he has the mettle to really perform at that level.
Well, and Rev brings up such a great point. He's the only one of us that's been there. And everybody that has been there said, we can talk about it all we want to, but when you're on the big stage, it's like nothing you've ever been through before.
And some people take off in a way that's least expected.
At least expected. And I've got to say, Trump filled up the big stage.
Yeah.
That's why Trump won the Republican nomination, because he knew how to fill up the big stage. And we've seen a lot of candidates that get up there and don't know how to fill up the big stage. And so it is, what is it, Rev, what did you say about, what was the James Brown quote about playing the clubs and arenas?
Yeah, James Brown, the first time I went with him to Las Vegas, I was still like 20 years old, and he showed me the lounge. He says, you see that lady singing? I said, yes. He says, we're going in the big room where I'm doing the show. There's a difference between a lounge act and playing on the big stage in the showroom, because the audience in the lounge, they're smoking and they're drinking and you're doing whatever you got to do to get their attention. On the big stage, you got to perform. Those people paid $100 or more a head. And I don't know, DeSantis has showed us he's prepared for the big stage. As grotesque as Donald Trump was, he knew how to play that big stage. I don't know if DeSantis has shown us he belongs on that stage.
Well, and that's what makes a difference. And again, we're talking in the abstract here, but when you have, and it is the big stage, and it's a lot like boxing. They have Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you punch him in the mouth. Think about Donald Trump, Jeb Bush. Everybody said Jeb Bush was going to win. Everybody said Jeb Bush was going to.
We've all made winter plans we never planned.
Yeah, Jeb Bush is gonna do a whole lot of things, right? But it's cool.
They get on the debate stage. Donald Trump calls him low energy chap. He just keeps going after him. That's the end of it. Marco Rubio, cover of Time Magazine, the future of the Republican Party. That's what Time Magazine thought. That's what a lot of people said. You get Donald Trump. He makes fun of Marco Rubio for sweating. He calls him Little Marco. It is a nickname that has stuck, and people still in Washington refer to him, I mean, not in front of the center, but still refer to him as Little Marco. You can say the same thing for Ted Cruz, say the same thing for all of these people. And the response, Richard Haas, doesn't have to be an insult going back. I mean, you could just say, listen to this. You're so cute. You're so cute with your nicknames. That is so. Listen, why don't you just go back and try that on a group of people that are too stupid to respond? Because I can respond, Donald. You know what else I can do? I can win. You can't. 2017, loser. 2018, loser. 2019, loser. 2020, loser. 2021, loser. 2022, loser. And 2024, loser, Donald. So you figure out your cute nicknames. I'll figure out how to win finally for the Republican Party, and we'll both have a better 2024. I mean, he doesn't have to do that, but just if he comes with something strong, mocks him, pushes him to the side, great. But no Republican, Richard, this is what I just can't understand. Nobody's figured out how to do that, and it's just not that hard.
Look, you can't beat something with nothing. So I understand the tactics of not wanting to get down in the mud. That's what Trump's really good at. It's not clear DeSantis would emerge from that, shall we say, victorious. Then so he can continue to push his cultural agenda. He can continue to, he go after Biden. The Biden administration clearly has all sorts of vulnerabilities. I guess, Joe, look, you've been in this game, I haven't. It's tactical, and you see what works. But my instincts would be DeSantis is probably right not to get into a slinging match with Trump. He's gotten where he is by not doing that. And again, I think he's got things he could attack the Biden administration for. And more broadly, the Republicans could use an agenda. It would be nice if one of the Republican candidates came through with a serious agenda for what they would do for this country. I haven't heard it yet.
A serious agenda. And Mika, it's you never fight anybody on their ground. You never give them the high ground. You never, ever let them maintain their balance. And you look at the 16 people that ran against Trump in 2016, they all let him define the debate. It was like, oh, he's such a disruptor. Look at all the horrible, he's insulting people. Now you pull back and you figure out before you go on that debate stage, how do I disrupt his attempts to disrupt? How do I make him fight on my terms?
Yeah.
And if you have half a brain, you can figure out how to do that. Every Republican in 2016 was reactive. They were reacting to his shock opera. Let's see if DeSantis can figure out a better way to do it.
And after all that losing, Trump has a record now that these Republicans can talk about, and they can really put into words reality versus bullying, kindergarten names. Coming up.
الهلال يحظى باستقبال حافل.
Oh, who is that? All right, y'all. I'm trying to figure some things out here. And we'll see what happens. So waiting on my cup of joe to brew. And we just holding our wasting some time. And I'm trying to figure out something here. So I had a ball yesterday. How was you all's day? I hope it was great because mine was great. Let's try this one. Okay, let's go here.
Nick Ward would make Chicago's crime problems.
No, he would not. Don't know him. Don't know who he is. Let's take a look at this. I swear these commercials are killing me. You know, we got this other part of him.
See how you might get confused, but you're running for governor. You're running for governor, and I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
Later he blurted out, "I like purple."
If that's how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis handled an attack from Charlie Crist in the gubernatorial debate, how's he going to handle the incoming from Donald Trump? New reporting from the New York Times suggests Governor DeSantis is going to take similar tact and not lash out at Donald Trump, at least not yet. Even as the former president steps up his attacks. Why are these important? Because they actually were really difficult for fellow candidates.
Jab, you look at what happened with Jab, low energy Jab, Lion Ted. I mean, it actually.
But will have the same effect this time. There's a question we should ask. Now, the Times notes, quote, DeSantis has pursued a strategy of conflict avoidance, delaying what is likely to be a hostile and divisive clash that forces the party's voters to pick sides. According to the Times, Trump has spent weeks trying to goad DeSantis into a fight, describing him in conversations as Meatball Ron, an apparent dig at his appearance.
Again, no mirrors at Mar-a-Lago.
Or Shutdown Ron, a reference to restrictions the governor put in place at the beginning of the COVID pandemic.
And again, obviously he can't read, because if he could read his own press releases from the White House, he told governors they needed to shut down.
When asked about Trump's attacks, DeSantis has mainly countered by reminding voters of Trump's election losses, and your advice would be that is exactly what he should do.
Well, I mean, that is what he should do, and I think, I think DeSantis, of course, he looked terrible in that debate with Charlie.
Well, there was a little sort of, you need to know that the moderator was the only one who was supposed to be asking questions, so he might have been sticking to the rules. I'm just, not that, hey, listen, his airport is disgusting, so thanks, Ron DeSantis.
Let's not talk about
But I'm just going to be not defending him, but.
Yeah. No, okay. Well, anyway, you don't look that way in debates. But anyway, so I will say, I'm going to go to Rev in a second, but first, Jonathan Almere, I will say, I mean, we were talking about how Trump had lost his fastball. I mean, his first nickname is something like Ron Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Tough on a bumper sticker.
Yeah, he tried to put that on bumper stickers. Very hard to do. Then it was Ron DeSanctimonious. Tighten it up a little bit. But then he goes to Meatball Ron, and like that tweet that you sent me yesterday, it's like a reliever who had lost his stuff suddenly remembering how to throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball high.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is all childish and immature and ridiculous. Let's put
Of course it is.
That's what they're going to start. But in the category of childish, immature, ridiculous things, good nickname. I mean, this one has a chance to stick, although you're right. Certainly, it's not very self-aware of the former president, considering his own appearance. And the COVID thing is an interesting choice as well, to hit DeSantis for being easy on COVID, when DeSantis, outside of the first couple of weeks, has made a point of going to the right of Trump on pandemic response. So, Rev, I'm not sure that necessarily is going to play either, but really what this is about is it's the opening act, right? And DeSantis, to this point, has chosen not to respond. He's trying to be above the fray. But I think people who know both men suggest that even DeSantis supporters know that he's untested on the national stage. He'll have to get better at debate moments like that. And Trump, for all of his flaws, and it would take us weeks to go through them, he is good at attacking political opponents. That's an undeniable skill that he has. How do you see this playing out in these early stages of this fight?
Well, what is interesting to me is how he froze in the debate more than how he responds to Trump. You know, I ran in 2004 and several of the primaries for president. When you get on the big stage, it's different. And I don't know DeSantis has shown he can rise to the big stage. I mean, because how much pressure you get before that, it's different up there. They analyze everything. And when you can't answer a question that you should have known was coming in the Charlie Crist segment we just showed, where you should have been prepared for that. I'm wondering, how do you handle presidential politics? So whether you can act like a wrestling match guy with Trump exchanging names or no, that's one thing. But when you get up there and they start coming at you hard, and these are not your friendly guys at the Miami Herald, you are going to be tested. And I don't know that DeSantis has showed us that he has the mettle to really perform at that level.
Well, and Ref brings up such a great point. He's only one of us that's been there. And everybody that has been there said, we can talk about it all we want to, but when you're on the big stage, it's like nothing you've ever been through before.
And some people take off in a way that is least expected.
At least expected. And I've got to say, Trump filled up the big stage.
Yeah.
That's why Trump won the Republican nomination, because he knew how to fill up the big stage. And we've seen a lot of candidates that get up there and don't know how to fill up the big stage. And so it is, what is it, Rev, what did you say about, what was the James Brown quote about playing the clubs and arenas?
Yeah, James Brown, the first time I went with him to Las Vegas, I was still like 20 years old. And he showed me the lounge. He says, you see that lady singing? I said, yes. He says, we're going in the big room where I'm doing the show. There's a difference between a lounge act and playing on the big stage in the showroom, because the audience in the lounge, they're smoking and they're drinking and you're doing whatever you got to do to get their attention. On the big stage, you got to perform. Those people paid $100 or more a head. And I don't know DeSantis has showed us he's prepared for the big stage. As grotesque as Donald Trump was, he knew how to play that big stage. I don't know if DeSantis has shown us he belongs on that stage.
Well, and that's what makes a difference. And again, we're talking to the abstract here.
We're brewed and we're ready to have our cup of Joe, y'all.
Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you punch him in the mouth.
Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. The city streets are not safe. Willie Wilson knows that personally.
My son was murdered. I know the anger and I know the pain.
Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Hold on. Top it off. There you go. Keep it going. Keep it going. I love having a girls' night in. A charcuterie board, some dessert.
Well, I gotta tell you, Claire, I've been known
Let's have a cup of Joe.
Alright, well, I challenge you to a Sunday setup, but on a Monday, because here we're doing it bachelor style.
So there is 3 parts to this challenge. You got tablescaping, appetizer design, and the most important part is to set your DirecTV DVR to record The Bachelor. The winner will have also completed their setup in the shortest amount of time. You ready, Claire?
Always.
3, 2, 1, go.
First of all, we're going date cards to invite some of my best friends, girls from the shows, Michelle Money, Sarah Harris.
It's hard for me to like get you ready for your date with a guy that I like, you know?
Love these girls.
We need to have that cup of Joe. I'm ready. Have you all your cup of Joe yet? Ooh, it's just 8:20 in the morning. Jeez.
Neil Lane, he's the man. Love the guy.
Neil Lane, the ring designer.
Yes.
I don't know what this fucking commercial is.
Next, lots of candles because there is nothing better than setting the mood for the bachelor.
1 minute left.
All right, y'all. It's Cup of Joe time.
The most dramatic rose ceremony ever is going on the floor.
Absolutely. We need crystals for the good juju, for the good karma, napkin for the tears, and I think we're good to go. The simpler the better.
Claire, we have 30 seconds left, and are you sure this is going to be your dessert? Just the chop.
I want to pivot. Let's do a little bit of strawberry shortcake because we all know a little bit of sugar is not good. So.
Who is Cup of Joe time? And I am willing and waiting for this Cup of Joe. Oh, like sunshine. Just like outside. It's sunshine outside, and this is. Oh, have you had your Cup of Joe yet? Well, this is pretty damn good, yo. I had a good time yesterday. I gotta tell you. I mean, I'm looking at this game and you may root for a team, but if they just suck on defense, they just suck. But I was the winner because I had a beautiful dinner and it was delicious. And I was thinking maybe I should have went out, right? I was invited to a few Super Bowl things, but I decided, nah, I don't feel like it. But I'm here. I stay at home. I cook great dinner for myself, and I was cool, and I was drinking. Woo. Woo. Now I'm a drinker. And I haven't been drinking a whole lot, but But last night I was feeling good. I was feeling great. I had a great meal. Gonna watch a great game. The game was great. My team didn't win, but it's okay. It was still a nice game, and I always appreciate a great close game because both teams are working their ass off, but you can only have one winner. Yes, right. So I'm gonna get this Cup of Joe in me and everything, and I'm going out. It is so nice and shiny out there, and I'm going out, baby. I'm gonna go take my walk, grab a few things, and maybe come back and cook something today. I don't know. Don't hold me to that, because I may want to go to sleep. I just may want to go to sleep, y'all. This Cup of Joe is so nice. This is my Dunkin' Donuts Cup of Joe. It's so inviting. It is, especially when, I don't really get like hangovers or anything like that. But I felt a little bit sluggish. And so I'm like, whoa, we're not going to do this, not today, because I want to go out. I got to go take a walk, get a little exercise in. But they're coming to do my locks. I hope they don't take all day, because I want to get out, do my little walk, do a little shopping, pick up a few things that I need, and get back home. Yeah, get back home and handle some things that I haven't handled. I cannot wait to get my office room, my social media room together. I'm just waiting on those dastardly children of mine to come and help me. Hey, where y'all at? I gotta get on top of this shit. I think I gotta put my foot on their necks. Come and help your mommy out. I know they work and they get their little lives and babies and all that. They better get their ass over here. So there's a lot of things I cannot do. And well, you know what? By this summer, I have everything. Before, well, spring is coming up. I say by springtime, I'll kind of have things together, y'all. What about that game? Let's see what they're talking about now. And this is the thing, I do this in the morning. I usually do it, but I don't usually share what I do in the mornings. You know, what I watch and what I do. But I was getting the email. I mean, I'm looking at things. Watch time hours very low. So I'm like, okay, watch time hours low. We say, all right. I don't really know what that means. Not completely, but I'm like, okay, we can watch. I may not have anybody in here, but we're gonna watch. It's gonna be streaming. So let's pick up the watch time hours, y'all. Woo, child, this be something else indeed. Oh yeah, I crashed my one of my devices. I crashed it, and Jesus. I was like, oh my God. It's like I am too broke to be crashing things out. And so, yeah. I was like, damn, this is screwed up totally. It's screwed up. So, now I'm just like, okay, what the hell? And what the hell it is? And let's watch. We're gonna go. I want to go to the Midas Touch. Cause this, I'd be looking for some new information. So we're gonna go to the Midas Touch. I love these guys. They're truthful, and they are the bomb for me.
This past week, he's been subpoenaing all of the former top of the top people in Donald Trump's criminal enterprise, like former Vice President Mike Pence received a subpoena, former head of the NSA, Robert O'Brien, received a subpoena. We learned that Donald Trump's lawyer, Evan Corcoran, testified before the criminal grand jury in Washington, D.C. regarding Donald Trump's theft of government records. So, of course, Donald Trump has to respond, and Donald Trump's issued one of the most despicable, strangest, but perfectly Trumpian responses. So let me read for you Donald Trump's response right now about all of these subpoenas. Of course, he's going to attack Jack Smith. He goes, will Trump-hating prosecutor Jack Smith be investigating the fact that they spied on my campaign even as I was in the Oval Office? They stuffed the ballot boxes per 2,000 mules, used COVID to cheat, that the FBI pushed Twitter and Facebook around, causing massive voter disruption and so much more. That's really what he should be looking at, not asking a very decent Mike Pence why he didn't send the votes back to state legislatures for scrutinization, which he could have done. Get the rigors, exclamation point, he says. Like, this is such a despicable, fascist, traitor, weird gaslighter. This is so insulting to our democracy, and so insulting and so offensive that you have a major political party in the United States of America today, the MAGA Republican Party, who views this sick, deranged, wannabe fascist traitor, just the most despicable human, as their leader. It tells you all you need to know about the MAGA Republican Party and who they are. Extremists, fascists, traitors who hate our democracy, who hate the United States of America, who we need to call out because, let's face it, MAGA Republicans are an existential threat to the United States of America. They're pro-Putin, they're pro-Russia, they hate America. Let's not mince words with who they are. And when you see things like this, when you see Donald Trump write things like this, that's what justifies me not mincing words. He's their leader. This is a statement that he's making, and this statement right here is the most anti-American, hateful statement. So he attacks a federal prosecutor, Jack Smith, and then he goes, "What are they going to investigate the fact that they tried on my campaign?" Here's the thing, you know, you're doing all of these weaponization hearings that your stooges, your fascist stooges in the House of Representatives, MAGA Republicans are holding. All it's showing is that who actually weaponized the Department of Justice is Donald Trump. And you brought in Bill Barr to do precisely that. You had the John Durham investigations. You brought in a prosecutor, a stooge prosecutor, not someone with a track record of independence like Special Counsel Jack Smith. Bill Barr brought in someone with a directive to go and attack people who were the whistleblowers, who exposed the fact that Donald Trump had all of these connections to Russia. Go after the people who provided the accurate information, the people who provided the sourcing for the Mueller report. Attack all of Donald Trump's political enemies in a very weaponized way. And what did John Durham do? Because he investigated the things that you said here with the goal of trying to prosecute your political enemies. And the only evidence of criminal conduct that John Durham got was from Italian officials, which said that they had information about Donald Trump financial crimes and that John Durham and Bill Barr covered that up. They didn't have criminal information about the origins of the Russia investigation, because the Russia investigation was an accurate investigation where numerous people were criminally convicted, including your campaign manager, your former the head of the NSA, Mike Flynn, who you appointed, and other top officials. There was dozens of indictments, dozens of criminal prosecutions, and the top people in your campaign were convicted. You gave them pardons, but they were criminally convicted at the end of the day. And ultimately, Mueller said he would have criminally prosecuted you, Donald Trump, except you were in office, which was the biggest cop-out in the world by Mueller. And he also said that you would have been charged with obstruction of justice had he had the ability to do that, which he did, but he didn't prosecute you for that. But anyway, you weaponized the prosecutor to do these ridiculous investigations of being spied on and all the little things that you whine about like a little fascist baby, and they found absolutely nothing. Then you go on, they stuffed the ballot boxes. Okay, here, even Bill Barr, who weaponized the Department of Justice for you to attack your political enemies regarding your fake conspiracies about being spied on and what you call the Russia hoax, which is actually your collusion with Russia. But even Bill Barr goes, there wasn't ballot box cheating, and he's called the 2000 Buell stuff batshit crazy. That's Bill Barr. Your own person, your own FBI director, Christopher Wray, all disagree with you. Every one of your United States attorneys disagrees with you. Your White House lawyers disagree with you. The only people who didn't were Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, a MyPillow guy, and the MAGA right-wing grift echo chamber that makes money off this crap. But actually,
and they all being indicted
before the January 6th committee all worked for you. They were all former Trump officials who all testified against you. The FBI pushed and Twitter and Facebook ran. Your guy, Christopher Wray, who you appointed. But you want to talk about that? Because I watched vividly. We've all watched this week the hearings that the MAGA Republicans held on Twitter. The hearings on weaponization of the DOJ.
Right. That shit was a shit show.
And it all showed that you were the one doing it, not President Biden. You were the one who was doing it all. You called up Twitter so much, you even called up Twitter when Chrissy Teigen said a mean thing about you. While you were the government. You used government resources to try to silence Twitter.
So who weaponized the government?
Biden wasn't even president. Here's the thing with the MAGA Republicans. They're all like, oh, this was going on before January 6th. All this. Donald Trump was the president.
Right.
Donald Trump was the president.
But they're all stupid
A
idiots.
bunch of idiots.
Yeah. Thank you,
I'm
Midas.
sick and tired of these idiots.
Me too.
Then you go, that's really what he should be looking at, not asking a very decent Mike Pence why he didn't send the votes back to the state legislature. And then you're doubling down on what was actually illegal. Send it back to the state legislature. That's one of the things you're being criminally investigated for. That is not legal. Even in your own emails from your lawyer, John Eastman, which are public. Eastman said, we know it's not legal. We know we will lose in the Supreme Court. Maybe Clarence Thomas will vote for us, but otherwise, at least one. We're not even sure if we got Clarence Thomas, but at least one. Maybe two, but one Supreme Court justice may go our way.
The Anita.
He knew the state, throw it back to the state legislatures is illegal. We have a process. We have a constitution. I know you want to terminate the Constitution. I know you hate the Constitution, but we have a Constitution. Here's what Donald Trump said also in another post. He goes, so ratings challenged fake news CNN, which just had their lowest and worst numbers in history, wants to give a wacky little Bill Maher a shot at bringing them back just to normal bad when Bill Maher suffers from the same affliction as CNN, bad ratings. How's that for television programming? Actually, there's only one person that can save CNN. He's done it for 6 years, Trump. But he's not available. He's going to win the presidency for the third time and save our country from going to hell. What a despicable human being. So he just sits around and writes all day.
Yeah.
He does. Like, this is not normal human being behavior. Frankly, it's not even what a malignant narcissist does. It is, but it takes malignant narcissism to the most weirdest extreme. It's like a QAnon malignant narcissism. This stuff just freaking weird.
Yeah.
And then finally he posts, so the election was rigged. And he posts this thing. Just look at these MAGA Republican traitors in the House of Representatives. Elise Stefanik, humiliating individual, a total clown, one of the most disgraceful people in history. Like, she is a walking laughing stock. Like, just what a despicable person she is.
Shit show. Worse than Marjorie Taylor Greene,
she
right?
Just kind of sells her. Like, she stands for absolutely nothing at all, and she's just parodying the Trump cult. So one of the things that she was like at these like oversight or Twitter hearings, she was like, Hunter Biden's laptop. All the MAGA Republicans, they're obsessed with Biden's laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, because it has dick pics in it. You know, meanwhile, what we've now learned as well is that Donald Trump's at least one of Donald Trump's
That's what they holding those hearings on, dick pics?
Mar-a-Lago
Jesus.
was downloaded on
How these people?
An actual laptop, an actual situation where there's real issues. We're not talking about dick pics here, or photos of Hunter Biden doing drugs, which he was a drug addict who's in recovery, but the MAGA Republicans are obsessed. You know, and then they go, of the people who were made aware of Hunter Biden's laptop, this is some ridiculous poll that they cited. This is what Elise Stefanik was saying. Of the people who were aware of Hunter Biden's laptop, 53% would have changed their vote. This is the definition of election meddling. It's collusion. It's corruption. It's unconstitutional. If they would have been aware of Hunter Biden's penis, then maybe they would have voted. They would have changed their votes. If they just would have been aware that Hunter Biden's dick.
Oh, that's terrible.
What are you talking about, you sickos? You're talking about, you sickos? Of the 50, it's the stupidest poll that you're citing. Of the 53% of people who obsess about Hunter Biden's dick pic, I'm not sure that they would have changed. I think they're pretty confident that those are MAGA Republicans. Who is thinking about Hunter Biden's laptop on a daily basis?
Right.
I would say if you're thinking about
and they had the hearings on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Serious. Well, you're a MAGA
Republican. It's crazy.
At the end of the day, your values will ultimately always end up aligning with the Donald Trump. If that is actually an obsession that you have, rather than real issues that Americans are focused on, like, I don't know, the economy and jobs, and making sure that we bring manufacturing jobs here, and making sure a woman has the right to control her own body, and making education affordable and accessible, and lowering healthcare costs.
They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about dick pics.
Not the real
For
issue.
God's sake.
There's really something freaking wrong. I'll tell you that. And there is. There absolutely is. You're called a MAGA Republican, and you hate the United States of America. And the larger pro-democracy community, we're not standing silent anymore. We're not letting you get away with that. We're not letting you gaslight us anymore. You know, look, the one thing that I'll say this, that I may agree with Trump on here, dude, screw CNN. CNN is Fox Light.
Yeah, they are. Let's stop watching CNN as well.
People watch the Midas Touch Network
they're
than watch
on some
CNN.
bullshit.
You know, by the way,
for
I'm
real.
traveling right now with work, sitting in a hotel room. More people will watch this than watch CNN in the studio. Why? Why? Because the pro-democracy community, we care about accurate information. We call about calling out traitors at the end of the day. We need to be in a studio. What I need to do is care about America. What we need to do is care about our Constitution, not in performative ways. We need to just freaking do it. That's why I love the Midas Mighty. That's why I love this pro-democracy community. Thank y'all so much. I'm Ben Meiselas. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. So please hit subscribe right now. In addition to...
And I'm going to get up out of here because I'm going outside and I got some cleaning up to do, y'all. And thank you for coming in and going out or whatever you do. But, you know, I'm going to do some watch time hours. That's what they say. Oh, you're low on watch time hours. So let's watch something. Because I can very well keep this to myself. But it's okay. I like to share. And I'm going to end this broadcast at smoocha. So you all have a great, great day. Happy Monday, y'all.